slacking, bro.
Bro, you gotta get your deep sleep for recovery. How much sleep did you get? 8 hours?
Sounds like an excuse.
I got 8.5. 30 more minutes of muscle building.
And so they have a very friendly but competitive bet going on. Who's gonna outdo who? Coach Greg in today's video, Eric versus Mr. Beast one-on-one bodybuilding competition. Eric finally makes the post his 600-day transformation. In case you didn't know, I began by coaching Mr. Beast, and I literally had Eric on the phone. He called me up, wanted to know, how am I going to beat this guy? What do I need to do? Remember, he knew I'd coached Mr. Beast, and why do you think he called me? And so I did have a little bit of influence on both of these competitors, and so I was excited to see what is going to be the end result.
I signed a legally binding contract with Mr. Beast that says that we both have to work out every single day for 600 days. Also, that contract says that if I miss a single day of working out, I have to get Mr. Beast's name tattooed on my forehead.
And so imagine having a bet where if you lose, you have to tattoo the other person's name on your forehead. But these guys, some of the most famous YouTubers in the world, even Eric himself, 15 million followers. And so 600 days in a row going to the gym without missing a day. That an incredible feat.
We had our terms, 100 grand on the line, and I had one more ace up my sleeve. To make sure that Jimmy didn't back out, I did what any businessman would do. I brought in the lawyers.
If I'm Eric, or if I'm anyone, I'm thinking, of course I'll take the challenge. It's against Mr. Beast. Even if you have no chance, you're taking a bet. And Eric had more chances than friggin' last time. And so clearly, based on the before photo, you can see that Mr. Beast is probably closer to 40% body fat. Now, Eric himself, perhaps somewhere in the low 20% body fat, certainly not obese, slightly overweight, but definitely within striking distance of getting in shape.
Getting jacked was actually gonna be very hard.
This is the most out of shape I'll ever be.
This is 100% true. Unless you have amazing genetics or perhaps on performance-enhancing drugs, adding in a lot of muscle, it's going to be a very slow and daunting task. In comparison, losing fat 10 times easier than putting on muscle. And so what does that mean? Well, essentially it means that it would be easier to lose 50 pounds of body fat if you're in fact obese than it would be to add 5 pounds of muscle. And so the results are very quick. And in a bodybuilding competition, although muscle is important, what's even more important is having conditioning. If you're 370 pounds, for example, you look like Eddie Hall, you're not winning a bodybuilding contest despite having massive amounts of muscles. Why? Because you're obese. If you can't see the muscles, you're not going to win the competition.
The goal to achieve in 10 months is from 186 at 20% body fat to 185 at 6% body fat. 17.6 pounds of muscle.
I mean, who are we kidding? It sounds like the guys that hire Coach Greg. Essentially, most people's goals is, I want to look like you, Coach Greg, in about 6 months while being 100% natural. And it's like, you're not going to do it. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. There's no way Eric is going to get down to 185 pounds at 6% body fat when he's essentially that weight at 20% body fat. You really think in 600 days, you're going to drop 14% body fat and replace it with 14% muscle? Are you kidding? Really?
The goal to achieve in 10 months.
Oh, I stand corrected. That's the goal in 10 months. I thought it was in 600 days. In 10 months, he's going to drop 14% body fat and replace it with 14% muscle. Quick math. 20 minutes later, no big deal. His goal was to add 25 pounds of muscle. Hey, you can't argue with the math. And so in 10 months, the coach's plan was to help him build, a measly 25 pounds of muscle. Oh, and let me add this caveat. While in a calorie deficit. Really, how many of you think that he would have put on 25 pounds of muscle while on a bulk? 25 pounds of pure muscle in 10 months? This is ridiculous. And so here's my opinion. I don't think he could ever do this in his life. If the goal or the bet were, can Eric be 185 pounds at 6% body fat? I don't care how old he is, 38, 48, he ain't doing it. If he were to use performance-enhancing drugs, test, trend, growth hormone, you name it, I think he could do it. But unfortunately, even with Turk Builder and GO2 Max, to put on 25 pounds of muscle in 10 months, it's just not going to happen.
17.6 pounds of muscle to be gained.
Let's do this math again. He says it's 17 pounds of muscle. I mean, I hate to be the math teacher, but let's just show you the math. 186 pounds times 0.8 means he would have 148.8 pounds of muscle. That's lean tissue. And why is that? Because, well, if 20% of his body is fat, 80% is not fat. So 80% of 186 pounds is 149 pounds. I'm rounding up. Then at the end of the competition, if he's 185 pounds, I take 185 and I multiply by 0.94. The result, his lean mass would be 173.9 pounds. Let's call it 174. And so all I do is I subtract the 148.8 that he was before, and the answer, 25.1 pounds of fat. I just showed you the math. I showed you the evidence. And so who do you think is the better coach? He says you got to add 17.8 pounds of muscle. The answer is he'd have to add 25 pounds of muscle. And what does that mean? He would need to lose about 20 pounds of fat. And so if his goal was to just lose 25 pounds of fat, I'd say, yeah, probably add 2.5 pounds of muscle in the process. And so to me, that would be a realistic goal. But there's no way a coach should be, in fact, lying to their athletes and saying, hey, this is our goal. We're going to keep your weight about the same. We're going to drop 25 pounds of fat and replace it with 25 pounds of muscle, and you're going to win the competition. In my opinion, it's not okay to exaggerate, or in this case, outwardly lie about how much muscle you have to gain. I think that you're doing a disservice by telling their people that they can get more gains that it can actually achieve.
And Jimmy was starting to get nervous.
Like it's fucking possible for you to win this in 4 months.
That's what I've been trying to tell this I'm fat as we're just playing two different games.
Unfortunately for Mr. Beast, I wasn't his longtime coach. If Mr. Beast would have had Coach Greg, perhaps if he was using Turk Builder and GO2 Max, well, we don't know how amazing his results would have been. At least he would have had a fighting chance of beating Eric. Remember, Eric's coach thinks that he's going to be 185 pounds at 6% body fat. This is an unrealistic goal, an unrealistic expectation. And if he tries to do this, what's going to happen is he's going to end up rail thin. He's going to lose a ton of muscle, ton of body fat, sure, but he's going to end up on stage looking kind of flat. But Mr. Beast, on the other hand, training under Coach Greg's supervision, would have had him get leaner than last time. He would have been doing cardio, being in a slow deficit, resulting in him losing fat and building muscle at the same time. And ultimately, in the end, what am I known for? What am I famous for? Well, as Ian Valera is saying in his latest podcast with Hanny Rambaud talking about Coach Greg, Ian said he was the most conditioned he'd ever been in his life while being trained by Coach Greg, and that was in his very first competition with me.
And there I was again, 6 months later, alone. I tried staying motivated, but grinding this out by myself was starting to take its toll. I feel like I'm not making any progress.
When you promise people the stars and you reach the moon, you're going to be disappointed. You want to hear you're going to put on 25 pounds of muscle while losing 25 pounds of fat. What you need to hear this, you're only going to put on 5 pounds of muscle, but because you're losing 25 pounds of fat and you're shredded, you're going to look incredible. Your abs are going to be granite hard. You're going to stand on stage, everyone's going to say, oh my goodness, check out that guy's abs. You're going to win because of your definition, not because of your size. And so what did they do with Eric? Of course, they put him on some bulk. They have him eating more calories than last time, and then they go to starve him at the end. And what is the end result? Well, he's clearly not 6% body fat. Do you think this is even close to 6% body fat? Nowhere near. I could have coached him better with my eyes closed without any progress photos whatsoever. All you would have to say is his median weight. I would have gave him the friggin' cookbook, eat from the cookbook. He would have been leaner, done better than this. And he would have enjoyed the diet the entire time, but no. People think, oh, Coach Greg's plans can't work. Of course they work. Close to 100,000 people have got my cookbooks. I have almost 1 million views. Why are people watching my channel? Because my channel makes sense. I use logic. It actually works. The things I'm saying make more sense than any other channel. There's no gimmicks, no quick fixes, not a fad diet. It's a forever diet. The circle diet. Think this is a fad? Read my freaking book. It's so easy. It might take you 6 hours. If you read this book, understand it, you know more than 99% of fitness YouTubers. Get the book and stop complaining. Be proactive with your health.
And I took some pictures today to compare myself to me 6 months ago, and I look the exact same, bro.
How many of you think, raise your hand, you would look the exact same if I coached him for 6 months? People just say what you want to hear. You're going to lose all this weight. You're going to gain all this muscle. I'm honest, and perhaps I don't promise you the world, but what I do promise you, you can actually get. You can actually achieve it.
Enter Alex.
Wow. Whoa. Oh my damn. God. Snack.
This man is huge. He looks like he ate Coach P.
Isn't it funny how people think, oh, your trainer's jacked, he has so much muscle, probably on steroids, and you think you're going to get the same results. Why? Because your trainer looks jacked? You're really going to judge how good your trainer is by how big they are? Really? That's what we're going to do?
My boy Jimmy just got in the gym.
Of course.
Slacking, bro.
Bro, you gotta get your deep sleep for recovery. How much sleep did you get? 8 hours?
Sounds like an excuse.
I got 8.5. 30 more minutes of muscle building.
And so they have a very friendly but competitive bet going on who's going to outdo who.
I could feel it. I was getting stronger every day with every set, but so was Jimmy.
Remember this. It's not about how strong you are, it's about how good you look. This is not a powerlifting competition. If it was a powerlifting competition, of course you'd get Coach Greg to do this as well. If it's competition for bodybuilding, for powerlifting, for weight loss, for anything, Coach Greg, he's your man.
Is it harder or easier than you thought it was going to be?
Way harder. Infinitely harder.
Of course it is. It's very easy when you first start dieting. The weight comes off. But as you get leaner, your ghrelin, your hunger hormone, it gets stronger, higher, elevated, makes you hungrier than last time, and you have less energy. Also, when you go without eating your favorite foods all the time, you're eating chicken, broccoli, and rice, eventually your willpower runs out. Now, if you have my cookbook, of which of course you do, it's not really all that hard. Why would you need willpower? You literally eat all the foods that you've always eaten. You just made them lower in calories, higher in protein. They're much more filling for fewer calories. And so staying on the diet, it's literally easier than last time.
I thought I'd just work out for like an hour and it'd be relatively easy, but it's like very time consuming because we're trying to get like what normal people would get gains wise in like 2 years in one basically.
That is the problem. People are trying to rush things. Now remember, I don't recommend you use supplements when you first start off, but if you're not a teenager anymore, you're perhaps in your 20s, you want faster results than last time, of course you can pick up GO2 Max and Turk Builder. GO2 Max for improved cardio and Turk Builder build muscle faster than ever before.
I don't think anyone thinks I'm gonna win. I started off at 41% body fat.
As I said, Mr. Beast, 40% body fat, and people are quick to hate me. Oh, you're making fun of Mr. Beast, you're calling him fat. No, I'm saying he has about 40% body fat. And then what does he say? He says he has 41%. And so how far were my laser eyes? Mr. Beast's machine was off by 1%. My laser eyes are the golden standard, and so unless you're using an MRI, this the golden standard. DEXA-scan my ass, people say. Golden standard DEXA-scan. Shut up!
We thought what better way to measure my progress than having a bench-a-thon with gym legends and trying to break my personal record.
And so he went into Zool culture, he bench pressed 255 pounds of 1 rep max. Is this really what we want to do on a diet? Remember, leave the ego lifting at the door. It's not about how much you can lift, it's about how you look. And so if you are trying to have a competition, see how strong you are, why not do, for example, 225 for reps? It's a lot safer to do a lighter weight for repetitions than it is to go for your 1 rep max. And when you're on a diet, this is the time you can get injured. We all know Brandon Harding. Brandon Harding was what? 2 weeks out from competition, and get this, he literally tore off his shoulder while doing a side chest pose. He wasn't even lifting in the gym. He was literally just flexing and tore the muscle out of the competition after dieting for almost 4 months. And so trust me, when you're dieting to get shredded for a competition, you don't want to be 1 rep maxing in the gym. Hear that, Trend Twins? Stop maxing out in the gym.
Jimmy and I both agreed that we thought we would be way further in our progress at this point in the competition. And even with the internet hounding us, we mutually decided to push it.
And so rather than having the competition on this early given date, they decided to push the competition even further. They hadn't made the progress they were expecting. For some reason, they thought, hey, 10 months, no big deal. We'll both be shredded. We'll be at 6% body fat, 185 pounds, no problem. Nothing could be further from the truth. We're trying to get 2 years progress in 1 year. It ain't gonna happen.
You thought I wasn't gonna work out on Christmas? You said to yourself, he's gonna take Christmas off at least, right? Not a shot!
And so regardless if it's Christmas or you're hungover, whatever, no excuses, you're going to the gym. And so my advice, make excuses to go to the gym rather than making excuses not to go to the gym.
We're 6 weeks out from the competition, and I am about to suffer. This is where we're gonna be spending the next 6 weeks, which Alex guarantees will be the most painful 6 weeks of my entire life.
Remember, this is a 600-day transformation, but yet now it's all on the last 6 weeks. For the last 6 weeks, I'm training 3 hours a day. This is what happens all the time. People, they procrastinate, they push, they think, oh, I'll get it next week. When Coach Greg trains you, you do it properly from start to finish. You don't slack off. You don't make excuses. You just do it. It's far easier to balance out your progress, to spread it out over a course of many months rather than cram all your training into the final 6 weeks.
My daily workout schedule for the next 6 weeks was 1 hour of cardio, 1 hour of lifting weights, and 1 hour of posing.
This is what I say to that. You're wasting an hour of posing. Do you really think you need to practice an hour a day for 6 weeks to stand there in board shorts and look good? Really? Why didn't we do an hour and a half of cardio, 60 minutes of lifting weights, and perhaps 30 minutes at most posing? Perhaps use that time to actually lift weights. Why are we doing so much posing?
Instead of competing against just Jimmy, I'm going to compete on a real bodybuilding stage in just 4 weeks.
And so Mr. Beast calls him up and says, look, I have no chance of beating you. I'm not going to bother showing up into this competition. You're clearly going to win. I can't get that lean. And so, hey, the choice is yours. Do you want to step on stage or not?
We are 5 days out from the competition. I'm probably like an 8.5 on the pain scale, and I'm not even at peak weight right now. And I still have more fat to lose, if you can believe it.
And so he's now fast forward 5 days out from competition. And I'm looking at his physique, and to me, this is a great off-season physique. This is what I would love to have people look like year-round. And can you have a look like this year-round? Absolutely. And how? Main game. Why are we all bulking up in the off-season, going to 20 to 40% body fat? There is no need. Why not just maintain a healthy weight for you? Perhaps that's 15%. Depends on your genetics and how you like to eat, and are you doing cardio? The more cardio you do, the healthier you eat, the more you're going to be able to maintain a lean physique. The better the genetics you have, the leaner you're also going to be able to maintain. And so not everyone can maintain single-digit body fat. I'm not telling you that. But many people will, in fact, be able to hold 12 to 15% body fat. And so when you look at Eric's physique, does it look like a man who was on a diet for 600 days? Remember, he started at 20% body fat, 186 pounds. He was told you're going to be 185 pounds with 6% body fat 10 months later. He's had 600 days to diet. Does he look like he's close to 6% body fat? Or does he simply look healthy? Does this not look like a healthy year-round physique that perhaps he could maintain? And yet he's saying it's an 8.5 on the pain scale. He's suffering. He's in the gym 3 hours a day. How many of you have 3 hours a day to suffer, to diet for 600 days to get to this level? Probably none. And so why not just pick up my cookbook and my Circle Diet book? Make your life easy. Does it not make sense? Why are we fighting the inevitable? You're going to get the cookbook eventually. Why not get it now? And what snack would I suggest? Every day you can get the Seco protein bars. And of course, you know my favorite, Smart Pop popcorn. Why are you all eating chips? It's so easy. I have 3,500 videos on how to lose weight and keep it off for the rest of your life. Have you watched them? I mean, 920 million views. Have you watched my videos on how to lose weight? If so, what's your excuse? And if you haven't watched them, what's wrong with you? Why are you 100 pounds overweight right now? Oh, it's genetics. Oh, my metabolism. Oh, I have PCOS. Shut up. You have what's called lazy-itis. You're not trying harder than last time.
It might have been the most uncomfortable 6 weeks of my life. You guys don't understand how badly I want pizza.
Notice how bad he wants pizza. It's in the cookbook. Could have eaten it every single day on his diet. But no, I'm not going to hire Coach Greg. I'll have a phone consult with him, but I'm not going to hire him officially. Why not? I mean, who is better? Literally, who is better at getting people lean?
When I started, I was fat. This has been a wild journey. 2 years later, how did you think you'd be bigger than you are now?
100%. I tell Alex all the time, like, I can't believe how little progress I've made in the amount of time.
You were thinking he was going to say, wow, I can't believe the before and after photo. And when I was talking to Mr. Beast, he was thinking, I can't wait for people to see my jacked physique, to see how shredded I am, to see how much muscle I have. I'm like, it's not that easy. In the end of it, people are going to barely able to see that you work out. With only 10 months of training, for example, to go from 41% body fat to compete as a bodybuilder, you're not going to look all that jacked. Even with steroids, people are not going to be all that impressed. And so technically, these famous YouTubers, they have everything to lose, because what do people see? They see the top 1% of the top 1%. The people have mind-blowing transformations. Perhaps they put on 40 pounds of muscle in a year, all from steroids or perhaps going through puberty and steroids at the same time. But what we're seeing is people who are photoshopping, airbrushing, taking steroids, using crazy camera angles to make themselves look like they've improved even more than they have.
If I was to do an actual bodybuilding competition, I'd still need probably another year.
Absolutely. This is not easy. Bodybuilding is not about training a couple of years and showing up on stage. For most people, it takes 10 plus years. Unless you have amazing genetics or perhaps you're using performance enhancing drugs to get up on stage and think you're going to win a bodybuilding competition, it's not something that just takes a couple of years. Now, did he in fact improve? Absolutely. Mr. B started at 41% body fat. He's sub 20% body fat. It looks incredible. The difference is astounding. That's the kind of realistic expectations that you should have when doing a before and after transformation. Highly impressed by his backflip on the internet. They called me Mr. Backflip back in the day. I would do bodybuilding competitions, doing backflips on stage. The video is still there. I used to do backflips, was a power cheerleader in university. Very impressed by his ability to do a backflip while dehydrated on stage. Now, unfortunately, stepping out on stage, he's not single-digit body fat. And what did I say was the most important variable when doing a bodybuilding competition? Was it the size of the muscle or was it the conditioning? He is not in condition. This, to me, off-season. Perhaps he's at 12% body fat. He's not close to single digits. He's certainly below 15%. I'm going to give him 12. Perhaps I'm being generous. He has a tan on in the best lighting. He's dehydrated. And so when you're on stage, you normally appear leaner than you actually are. You can see his abdominals. They're clearly visible, but they're not etched in stone. He looks great for someone in the off season. If you said, hey, this is a condition that I maintain year round. This is my physique. I go to the gym, I eat healthy, and this is how I look. Very impressive. I do believe he's 100% natural, and I'm not trying to take away that this is not an impressive physique. But is it impressive for the stage, for a competition to try and win a bodybuilding show? It is not. It is not conditioned. Is it okay to go on stage like this? Yes. But you're not going to win. This is nowhere near what he would need to do to win this competition. If he had an additional 6 weeks, I think he could do it.
This was over. The longest 600 days of your life.
And so there you have it. 600 of the hardest days of his life ends in eating some pizza. Now remember, you don't need to diet to this extent. You don't need to suffer for 600 days to get an amazing physique. You don't need to have single-digit body fat to be happy. I don't want anyone to develop body dysmorphia. Please, 15% body fat. This is perfectly healthy. Anything leaner than that, you're only doing it for the aesthetics. You don't need to be leaner. If you're interested in the Seco protein bars, the creatine, for example, is 50% off. You can also get Turk Builder, Ecti Builder, GO2 Max. Also have various pre-workouts like Pre-Workout 3.0, Hardcore Pre-Workout, have G-Test, Creatine, Delta Sleep, the list goes on and on. Head over to my website, check out what's available, code Greg, 15% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Please like the video if you liked it, watch one of those two bloops, and don't forget about the coaching plans by me and my team, the Circle Diet book, the training books. Don't forget about the clothing line, tank tops, hoodies, jogging pants, shorts, and so on. And until next time, I am out.